In a quiet village surrounded by sugarcane fields, where dusk falls like a silk curtain and the trees whisper to the sky, lived a girl named Ritu. A 17-year-old girl is seated quietly, writing in a diary. She wasn't the class topper. She didn't post selfies or shout her opinions across rooms. But every day, after school, she walked to the same banyan tree, sat beneath its roots, and wrote. Not to impress anyone, just to understand herself. Ritu in her classroom had always been the quiet one. She noticed everything. The cracked wall near the hand pump, the boy who brought cold rice every day, the teacher whose smile faded when she looked at her phone. But no one really noticed Ritu. At home, she helped her mother grind spices and pack meals for her younger brother. Her father ran a small mechanic shed. They weren't poor, but they lived in margins, never asking for more, never expecting magic. What nobody knew is that Ritu wrote about everything. She wrote about her fear of speaking in class, about how her cousin in the city laughed at her old slippers. She wrote about her wish to learn photography. She wrote about the days she overheard her mother crying when she thought no one was listening. That tree? It wasn't just a tree. It was her mirror, her friend, her shelter. And one day, it became something more. One late evening, a woman in a cotton sari walks by. She stops, curious. This woman was visiting the village to meet her relatives. She noticed Ritu sitting silently, writing in her diary. The next day, the woman came back, sat on a bench nearby, and after a few days, she smiled and asked, "Do you write every day?" Ritu nodded, unsure what to say. What she didn't know was that the woman was a writer, a real one, a published author, and she had seen something rare, a kind of quiet depth you don't find easily anymore. A letter in Ritu's hand, her eyes wide in disbelief. A few weeks later, Ritu received an invitation to attend a local youth storytelling event in a nearby town. Her name had been submitted, not by her family or any teacher, but by the woman under the tree. Ritu hesitated. Her hands trembled as she touched the envelope. Could she really do it? She wasn't fluent. She wasn't confident. She had never stood on a stage. But that evening, under the same tree, she made a choice. She would read one of her own diary entries aloud. A small auditorium. Ritu takes the mic. Silence. Ritu stood before the audience, her palms sweaty. And then she began. No fancy words or a dramatic tone, just truth. She spoke about her village, her banyan tree, the diary that became her refuge, and the day she decided to stop hiding. By the time she finished, the audience didn't erupt in applause. They stood, quietly. And then someone began to clap, and then another. The banyan tree, once more. Sunset. Ritu, older now, sits with a new diary. She never chased the spotlight, she simply stopped dimming her own. She wasn't famous, but she was full of stories, of wisdom, of quiet power. And it all began with one girl, one tree, and a diary written at dusk. If this story touched something inside you, let it echo forward. Comment below. Have you ever had a moment where you met your true self in silence? Subscribe to Echoes of Wisdom for stories that don't shout but stay. Share this with someone who thinks they're too small to be seen. Because sometimes the ones who sit quietly under trees have the loudest souls of all.